Live from our home studios across North America, please welcome the hosts of Top 5, Boo, John, Peter, and special guest, Michael O'Leary. Hey, happy Tuesday, everyone. We want to welcome you all who are watching from our various channels, whether you're coming from YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. We are thrilled to have you today for Top 5. Today is sort of a special day because we're going to be sharing the F5 tech that we are thankful for. So let me bring in my pals. Boo. Michael, John, and I got the show going over here. I'm hearing myself with the 3-second delay. So we muted my other voice. How's it going, fellas?
Going good.
Awesome. Boy, don't get all excited for the show. Because you know that guy who opens the show, I mean, he makes it so exciting. You know, one thing I didn't mention is you might be missing one of the faces, Jason Rom. He will be joining us later via what do they call that in the field? The delayed tape or delayed replay or
time machine.
The tape replay machine. People still say, if you ever watch some of those, videos, they still say, I'm filming you. I'm like, no, it's not on film. You're actually just being recorded.
Yeah.
You know what? I know.
Go
ahead, John. I was going to say, so I know Jason is spending some time in Disneyland. There's actually another F5er that's in Disneyland, and she had posted a picture or a video on her Instagram that I saw of a phone that actually has a dial on it. And so I was thinking, again, like that's one of those things where we say dial a phone number, but there's no dials anymore. We're tapping phone numbers.
That's right.
There's some actual fun videos where they hand the old telephone to their child, and they say, hey, okay, make a phone call with this thing. And they're like punching it. They don't know how to spin the dial or whatever. But all right. So we might as well kick it off and let's get into this thing. And I always say this every show. Ironically, our first story is... That's
the top 5. Yep, here we go. Ready? Number
5. Number 5, the top story today is, so the tech that I'm most thankful for, the F5 tech that I'm most thankful for is, so back in 2003, F5's first acquisition was a company called URoam. And out of URoam, the product that they had was called FirePass SSL VPN. Is that my feedback? There we go. Was FirePass SSL VPN. 2003, we bought URoam. In 2004, I actually joined F5 as part of the original security business unit. And FirePass happened to be the first solution that I worked on. It was an SSL VPN. And if you remember back then, this was the days of IPsec and, the client connecting to the IPsec controller and punching holes in the firewall for the various ports that you had to visit. And with an SSL VPN, it was pretty cool because then anybody with a browser could gain access and get VPN access to the enterprise network. So that was the good news. The bad news, of course, was anyone with a browser could gain access to a corporate VPN system. And so, the malicious, the bad guys, you had to then continue to keep the technology going to ensure that your internal network remains safe. So, the pre-logon checks and two-factor authentication and so many developments over the years. Now, the other thing that happened in 2004 is F5 bought a company called Magnifier. And Magnifier had a product solution called Traffic Shield. So FirePass became our SSL VPN, and that kind of eventually evolved. We had a product called Big IP Secure Access Manager. Some of you may or may not remember that. It was just a high-performance VPN controller that was kind of this middle point between FirePass and when we eventually turned FirePass into Big IP Access Policy Manager, which I'm sure many of you are aware of. Traffic Shield, on the other hand, from Magnifier turned into our web application firewall. And of course, different times back then, network firewalls and IP stuff. This was a web application firewall, so it had to understand HTTP and HTTPS. Now, the cool thing about Traffic Shield at the time was that it was one of the first web application firewalls that actually had a positive security model versus the negative security model at the time, which was like signatures and allow and deny lists and those sorts of things. With a positive security model, it allowed you to kind of create a policy that then sort of forced people to do certain things before they were, say, eventually able to get to, say, the checkout line or the shopping cart or some other things. So it was pretty cool. And that's sort of how I got my feet wet with F5, was with FirePass and Traffic Shield, our first two security solutions.
Well, I'm thankful for those products, because if we didn't have them, we wouldn't have a security BU, and you wouldn't be with us, Peter. So I'm very thankful for that.
Right.
I'm blushing a little bit there, Boo.
Hey, Pete, I think we need to see that. I think we need to see that picture from a couple of years ago. What if we pop that up on the screen? Is that okay?
That? Yeah, go ahead. So
who is that guy?
Look at that. Boy, my hair is kind of dark. So this picture is actually RSA 2005 in San Jose, of all places. I can't remember. It was a small, I can't remember the name of the place, but that was, it's funny. My wife was the booth babe for the F5 booth at the time, handing out the flyers and stuff like that. In fact, you can, if you look right to the right of my face, you can see the end of IC Shield application firewall right there. That was the first, or one of the early Traffic Shield posters that we had. Oh, it was fun times. But and so today, F5 being a security company, it's I don't know, I just sort of feel good, and it's kind of neat that to be part of this whole security push from way back in the beginning with just FirePass and Traffic Shield, and now look at where F5 is today without the networks.
I think those products really defined F5 for a good 10 years or so, is what I would imagine, or what I would say is, the APM just sold like hotcakes. It was such a popular solution for everybody because it was almost a Swiss Army knife for getting to your stuff, especially when you pair it with LTM. So you have your reverse proxy, you have all this authentication, and then the ability to access virtually any application. So it could have been, network-based type access, or to have fat client access to whatever, but then web-based applications, and then doing single sign-on into everything. Or then you can have like a, what did we call it? App tunnels. So you can have a single application that could have kind of fat client type access. We could have
remote
VDI access with it. Yeah, it's just such a beautiful product for everything it could do. I always said that we charge too little for that product because there's a million use cases in there.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned, but Traffic Shield obviously turned into a Big IP Application Security Manager. So, over the course of time, we ported that, ported the code onto TMOS for the high performance and having it available across the Big IP platform. And now, we have advanced WAF. So almost, I don't know, full circle really isn't the proper terminology. Maybe it's just the evolution of F5 security products.
Got a lot of mileage out of that one.
Yep.
That's right. That's right.
So, hey, Wagnon, you ready for 2? We're going from older to a little newer this time with number 2, which is actually
number 4. All right. So just like Pete so eloquently stated, the Traffic Shield was awesome back in the day. That was actually before I got to F5. So when I got to F5, it's been about 8.5 years ago now. One of the first things I learned was the ASM, the Application Security Manager, and that's our web application firewall. And so I got to go take some classes on that and just really dive deep into that. And way back in the day in DevCentral, we actually managed our own ASM policy, and I got to do that. And so that was a lot of fun to figure out, who's attacking us, or what do we need to configure on parameters and URLs and just all the stuff, right? And DevCentral historically has been a challenge in terms of web application firewall policy, because we encourage the sharing of code, of active code, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, how do you secure that? Because a lot of times it's like, well, you want to create a policy that doesn't allow for some of that stuff, right? But DevCentral is kind of unique. So that was a lot of fun to dig into that. And then just like Pete said and Boo said, as we've evolved, as we've changed with the times, we've moved from ASM to the advanced WAF, which has even more capability. So, we're looking at things like, the API protection. That's just, APIs have just exploded lately. I really like one of the features, the targeted attack campaign. So there's like, they can take this intelligence and say, hey, we know about some attacks that have been going on. And if we, the advanced WAF, notice traffic related to an attack that's coming against you, or your application, then we can say, hey, we noticed a little bit about this. We can start to shut that down a little bit. So that's a really cool thing. And there's a whole host of features and technologies built into the advanced WAF, but that's just a really powerful tool, a really powerful security technology to help keep applications safe today. And so anyway, so that's my F5 technology that I'm thankful for, not only because it protects applications, but also it's kind of where I started my security journey with F5. So with that, let me bring the fellas back on, and thoughts on advanced WAF, guys.
I love advanced WAF. How is advanced WAF? Hi, doggies. How is advanced WAF accepted in the field? I might have to just leave for me for a second while I let these dogs out.
Yeah. Got to get the dogs. All right.
I got to say, I love advanced WAF too. I talk to customers that protect their most important and their most critical websites with advanced WAF, and they are big fans. And that's always nice to hear customers say that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Boo, have you done a lot of advanced WAF kind of stuff?
It's prolific because a lot of customers, I think when we went to actually package and bundle all of our modules, and customers who wouldn't necessarily have started with it right away on their F5 journey, they might have started with something like load balancing and maybe some access policy manager, and then they discover that they have this WAF in place, and then they realize, hey, I've solved these problems in this strategic point of control, we would always call it. And you're decrypting, you're doing authentication, and then you can solve these web application security challenges all in one spot. It was pretty cool to be able to walk people through that journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's just a powerful tool. It's you think about different firewalls. There may be some, I don't know. There may be some people that say, how many firewalls do I need up in this place? Right? But you've got a lot of different layers on the OSI model, right? So you've got your network firewall that's going to handle the lower layers, but then that layer 7 firewall, that web application firewall is critical. With a lot of that layer 7 attack stuff that goes on every day. Whether it's a targeted just a kind of a sophisticated attack, surgical type attack that's coming to steal stuff or inject things or whatever, or there's some DOS type attacks that can happen at a variety of layers. But yeah, you need protection all over the place, right? So,
really today it's ensuring, right, that you have a consistent policy in all of your distribution points, for lack of a better term. I mean, that's really it. You have some over there. Boo knows you got some at the edge, but you want to make sure that whatever that policy is to protect your assets, that it's consistent across all entities, no matter where your data resides.
Yeah,
I think.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. It's critical. Good deal. All right.
Rock on. And this is the only one on the list who matches the number of the story.
We count down. And so 3 is in the middle, regardless, right? All right. Well, with that, Boo Lamb is number 3. Hang on.
Number 3.
All right. So the technology that I'm thankful for is actually a technology that one of my customers is really thankful for, which is the Silverline DDoS solution. So a few years back, we actually acquired a company called Defense.net, and we acquired a DDoS mitigation company. And that was actually one of the F5's first forays into offering something as a service. which has, if you're following along with all the stuff that we're doing now, so much of the stuff that we're doing is software based and moving into services delivery as opposed to just selling boxes. And so the Silverline DDoS is what the defense.net acquisition evolved to. And we were going around and we were telling customers about it. Hey, we got this DDoS service. There's other ones out there, but ours is special because we have the people who invented DDoS mitigation actually that actually founded this company over here working on this. And so we had one customer who, we told them about the stuff, and then we had one customer say, actually call us on a Friday afternoon and said, "Hey, we're getting DDoSed," and we're like, "All right, it's go time. Here's the number to call." So we helped them kind of through that process, and it was just amazing to see our team jump into it, everybody, all hands on deck, and actually solve a DDoS attack like in real time. It was just incredible to see. And then, ever since that very first one, I'd had other customers who jumped on board the Silverline service. And anytime there was an attack that would happen, everybody gets involved, and there's kind of like a war room that's set up. And I just always found it interesting to watch like real stuff happening. So we talk about the attacks, right? And we, from an operations perspective, you're seeing stuff happening and it's being mitigated. But something like a DDoS attack that can shift during the attack itself, and so people will change directories or adjust their attack, or maybe they'll come in from another direction. And so it was really neat to see like basically a war happening. And then it fortunately 100% of the time the good guys always won in this case. But I just thought that's one of the really interesting technologies, because you get to like be there in maybe it's a stressful situation, but it's going to get resolved, and everybody's going to be better off with the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wagnon and I just did a live stream. It was a webinar talking about the real attack stories that Silverline had stopped, and one recently was 1.2 gigabit per second attack, which is at least the largest that we've seen, and certainly a high bar to cross.
Yeah.
That I think what they do as well is they'll do their reconnaissance and they'll figure out, hey, here's how much bandwidth we need to take that place down. And so at least in the case of our customers that had gone through it, it's like, oh, you have a 1 gig pipe. Well, here's a 1.2 gig attack to hit your 1 gig pipe. And it was always like just enough to kind of send things over for them. So they, the attackers do their research, but our guys are awesome at fighting them.
Well, and it's also a good reminder right now during the holiday season, there's probably a lot of those attackers that are focusing on, certain entities to go after. And we've seen this, right, John, that they'll start with a DDoS attack and everybody's like, a DDoS attack. And they go run over there to protect it. And the meanwhile, the attacker's doing an end around and then doing a credential stuffing or, something else on the other end while everybody's over there worried about the DDoS. So always make sure you keep your defenses up. And good evening to you, Daniel. These would be,
sorry.
What does he say?
Yeah.
The TCP dump.
TCP dump, F5 SSL. He's listening to. So the behavioral DOS and TCP dump, F5 SSL. Yeah. Hey, you're allowed to mention 2, Daniel. So we appreciate it, man.
I mentioned 2.
Yeah. Hey, this is like a top 7 or 8. I don't know. I've lost count. No, it's all good.
The top give or take.
Yeah. Always great to see Daniel. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, I totally agree, guys, that Silverline's a fantastic service, because when we look at this evolution of IT, we, back a long time ago, back when Peter, when you married the booth babe, we all talked about discrete appliances. But as time moves forward and we all sort of migrate towards cloud, we talk about virtual appliances more and things as a service, so delivering things as a service. And of course, then we talk about platforms at the edge as a service. Boo knows all about those. So Silverline's a great example of a service that a customer can consume without worrying about discrete appliances. And that's, I think, what I like about it.
Yeah, or the personnel to have to really worry about the going through the logs and taking care of it. Good point, Michael.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things too. Is we've got the expertise, we've got the people that are in this every day at Silverline, and they've just grown this body of knowledge over the course of time. That it's like, oh, if I see a NTP amplification attack, then boom, I know exactly what to do. It's no big deal. I see it every day, right? Whereas another security team may be like, well, I'm going to have to kind of figure things out for a while, and so there's that body of knowledge that gets built up. It's really powerful.
The body and
it's hard to Google things when you're getting DDoSed and your internet down.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Google doesn't work for me right now. Dang.
The knowledge is one thing, but also being able to, toss that solution, the mitigation in place fairly quickly to stop the attacks. Also pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all there. Love it.
Are you getting excited for your turn, Michael? Because you know what? You're up.
Here we go. Number 2.
Number 2.
Thanks very much. The technology that I am most excited about right now is Container Ingress Services, or CIS. And if I can take a step back for 1 second, let's look at the trend again of IT. Over the years, we've moved away from physical servers. So if you're an engineer who's been in the game a long time, maybe you have a couple of gray hairs and you remember going into data centers and physically racking and stacking. And then as we've progressed more towards cloud, we've adopted containers, and Kubernetes has become the most common way to orchestrate your microservices environment. So a Kubernetes cluster is a number of hosts that will run containers, and CIS, or Container Integration Services, is the method by which Kubernetes clusters can integrate with an F5, a big IP appliance, so that you can expose the services running inside Kubernetes via your big IP. And this opens up a world of opportunities, not just to allow ingress into your cluster from your network, but also to do some of the things that Boo was talking about earlier. So apply firewalls, apply SSL termination, all those sorts of traffic application services that we're used to applying to traffic at a big IP can be done to applications that run inside of your Kubernetes environment. So again, to reference something earlier in the conversation, if you're an engineer that's born post the year 2000, maybe you don't know how to dial a rotary phone. We were joking about that earlier. But chances are that you've heard of Kubernetes and you'll be working with Kubernetes in your career. And CIS is a fantastic technology from F5. It's been around for a couple of years, so it's very mature. It's actively worked on, and the release cadence is fairly frequent. So it's a fantastic product to sort of bridge the old world and the new. And that's what I'm thankful for.
That's a good point. I often say we're sort of the last. I think we're like the last analog generation to go from all the wind up and changing the channel and all that kind of stuff to this full digital realm.
Yeah, I joke, but I think it's important to think about these organizations in terms of trends, because a lot of organizations still have this legacy. I don't want to call it baggage. There's some critical applications that still run on servers. So there's nothing wrong with running physical machines, but the world is moving to a place where virtual microservices, Kubernetes, compute at the edge will be the norm. So bridging that gap is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned the same services are being done on the big IP, but the environment that it's talking to is different. And just find that that's like the way with F5 is that there's so much value that F5 has done over the years as far as our acquisitions that have evolved, like the UROAM and the Traffic Shield, or the magnifier. And then we take those same things and people move to something like cloud and they're like, oh, I have all these services over here, but they don't have that 15-year, 16-year pedigree of having done it this entire time. So all we had to do from F5 to kind of bring that value was just kind of refactor it, and we can reoffer it in different ways. It just looks a little bit different, but you still get the same service out of it in the end. So you can acquire it from us as a service, or as a managed service, or just inside of a big IP itself, but just conducted in a different way.
Yep,
I
all
totally
the form
agree.
factors. Yeah.
Yep.
That's definitely been exciting to see over the last, 5 to 7 little longer years when VE came out, and then being able to people to consume the services no matter where the applications were.
Yep.
Critical. Well, we're getting close, and we got one more to go from your favorite and mine. So Jason's on vacation this week, but he was kind enough to give us his favorite F5 tech as our number one story today. Roll it.
Number 1.
Hey there, community. I hope to be there live for this F5 Tech We're Thankful For show. But I can't be because I am live in Southern California, where it is sunny and warm and beautiful. And, I am sitting here while the rest of the family's on a ride. My youngest grandbaby is sleeping here on the stroller next to me, and just really enjoying time with the family, getting some R&R. I say R&R, but nobody's resting, and we're definitely not going to recuperate, but we're definitely enjoying some family time. So anyway, I'm thankful for the DevCentral community, which happened because of what is our number one this week, and that's iControl, really the I stuff, but iControl and iRules. I'm going to compress those into a single one if you'll allow me. But yeah, DevCentral happened because of iControl. Joe Pruitt and Jeff Browning, who started DevCentral, really wanted to have a place where we could encourage and equip the community to know how to use iControl. And iControl was automation for applications a decade at least before it was cool, and even longer before it was necessary. So, F5's been innovating for a really long time, and iControl is, one of those amazing innovations, allowing you through API to control your product and how it behaves and how it's configured and how your apps flow and all that stuff. So it started out as actually Corba even before SOAP. Corba predates me. I'm sure you hear in the background the scooters back it up. Apologize for the audio, but yeah. So even before before SOAP, there was Corba, and then SOAP, ruled the day for a little while with iControl, and then REST, and REST is where we are today. And I got to participate as a maintainer for the iControl SDK for Python on a small team, and that was a lot of fun. And now we've deprecated that because all the internal development towards Python and other things are around our declarative interfaces for AS3 and terminal or telemetry services and DO as well. And so iControl, one of the two I'm covering, and love it, and I'm so thankful. And then iRules is the other one, and iRules was a game changer for me. I had a big problem as a customer way back in the day, and I've been with the DevCentral community for 18 years now, and 13 of that as an employee, but even 5 years before that, I was a big fan. And I was working on a problem with terminal servers, and I posted a question to the forums, and one of the core developers of iRules, he's like, oh yeah, da-da-da-da-da. He told me about some stuff in binary that blew my mind, but the iRule he sent me, it got me 90% there, and it just started tweaking and tuning, and everything I learned from iRules, even when I was a customer, with it being based on TCL, I actually was able to apply the TCL-based things I learned in iRules to another problem with some Cisco remote access stuff, and solved other problems because I learned that. And but iRules has been a big part of my life, really, for most of my tenure with DevCentral customer and forward. I submitted an iRule for the very first iRules contest, and I really just submitted it for the t-shirt, but I ended up winning that first contest, and that was awesome. And so anyway, iControl, iRules, so thankful because they were not just technology I picked up. It was really a career shift for me, and I've always called a lot of our stuff the art of possible, and it really unlocks the things that maybe you didn't even know you could do. I mean, we've built like Hangman out of an iRule and a TFTP server out of an iRule, and it's just crazy the things that you can do to break up, chunk up, meld together, duct tape, whatever, when your apps are misbehaving or there's some security constraints and you just, because of app development life cycles, you just can't make changes on the fly. All this stuff enables you to do that. And so grateful. That's what I'm grateful is the technology, iRules, iControl. Of course, there's a lot more than that, but this is a countdown. And so the stuff, iControl, iRules, that is, my F5 tech I'm thankful for. So crowds are getting a little bit bigger. I guess a big ride ended up. I will close with this. We are so appreciative of every one of you who either watch the show live or on the replay. We're thankful for all of you who come join us in the community to help each other, because at the end of the day, none of us can know it all, but all of us can know a little bit. And so if we're all out there helping each other, we can be thankful for the gifts that we're given, and we can benefit others by passing those on. So thank you. Have a great holiday week for all of you in the United States. For the rest of you, I hope you have a blessed week, at the work, doing the things you do with F5 technology. Thank you.
On location from Anaheim.
Must be
Nice.
nice.
iRules and iControl.
Yep.
He really summed it up well toward the end. It literally is about the community and the code share and all the things that we do to help each other out. And I echo his comment. Maybe we should kind of close on that, I guess, just be thankful for the community and everyone within the DevCentral community that offers their help and shares experiences and knowledges. Experiences and knowledges is the top word for the day for everyone in our community, for sure.
Cool.
All right. With that, we're actually a little bit over time. That almost sounded like my dog again. So remind me to lock my office door next time we go live. So what do we got upcoming? Then we got some shows coming up. So we won't have one on Thursday. And by the way, if you enjoyed this show and enjoy content like this, I tend to wait till the end to ask for the likes and subscribe versus the first 2 minutes before we've not even said anything to you. So if you enjoyed this program, please hit that like. If you want to hear more of the DevCentral crew, hit the subscribe button and be notified when new videos come out. So maybe let's pull up some of our upcoming banners. So next Tuesday, we've been tossing around this idea of just having open mic night or open mic morning for the 5th Tuesday of the month. As you know, we go through our solo shows on Tuesday. Top 5 is the 4th Tuesday of the week. And this month we actually have a 5th Tuesday. So we were considering like a Ask Me Anything or just DevCentral forum open mic, but we'll have something next Tuesday for you. We won't be on this Thursday, obviously, because of the United States Thanksgiving. And then what do we got coming up the Thursday? What does your lab look like? I know that's Boo. That's you and Jason, right?
Me and Jason, yeah. So at least myself, I'm sure Jason does as well, maintain a home lab with some fun stuff happening inside of there. And these are always fun to kind of share something that you don't necessarily see behind the scenes. And so I wanted to share the stuff that I've recently rebuilt within my lab. It was getting a little bit long in the tooth, all the software versions for the hypervisor that I was running and how I was organizing things. And so I had just actually redone pieces of my lab. So I'm going to be sharing what that looks like. And Jason will be sharing his as well.
Are you going to have your 360 cam for that show?
I should, hey? Well, so my lab is actually directly or sort of directly underneath me in the crawl space. So I don't know if I can pull that one off.
And then you'll be on again that following Tuesday with At the Edge, right?
Yeah, and this one's with Michael O'Leary. So
Woo-hoo.
Michael actually recently did the certified, that's a little bit backwards. He recently passed the certified Kubernetes admin exam, which I think is a really sought after exam right now. So we'll go over what that looks like. Any comments on what secrets you'll share, Michael?
Like you said, the Certified Kubernetes Administrator, or the CKA, is in high demand. It's a fantastic way to show potential employers or the industry at large your skills with a Kubernetes environment. And if you don't have the skills with a Kubernetes environment, it's a fantastic way to learn. So I highly recommend checking out the CKA, which we'll discuss with Boo shortly.
Yeah, cool.
And you are fantastic today too, Michael. We owe you a DevCentral t-shirt for
I
coming
only
and
take
joining us.
payment in F5 swag, Peter, so I'll gladly accept anything you want to send me.
Roger that. Cool. Right on. All right. So thanks again for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. And this will conclude our top 5 for November. Thanks for watching, everyone.
All right.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
Peter.